last lap. You can do it. It's 4.7 seconds. 5.6 seconds. It's a one of a kind, only in the DTM. Yes, man, you did it. Thank you, guys. Go, 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 go. Yeah!
Hello and welcome from the Norisring. It's the 5th race coming up here in Germany, and we are here in the German Monaco, and it's a very short racetrack, the only city circuit in the calendar. We've got 2.3 kilometers, and one man who truly does love this racetrack is Jamie Green, of course. You are Mr. Norisring, the so-called specialist of the Norisring, and indeed today you're starting in P3. So what's your gut feeling? Perhaps collecting another podium or even another victory?
I'd be very happy with the podium, to be honest, today. I mean, we've got a lot of success ballast in our car, so top 3 would be pretty good.
All right, and you're the leader of the championship, and how that came about at the Lausitzring. Let's have a look back. Here's a summary of Dave Richardson.
We are only 2 weekends into the DTM season, but already now there is a firm mark on the Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters, and it has 4 rings on it. No other team than the brand from Ingolstadt was able to drink the winner's champagne yet at Lausitzring. 4 weeks ago, Audi even locked out the podium after both races.
This weekend, fantastic. Hockenheim was very good. This week was just fantastic. There's no other words for that. The guys did an excellent job. We were a bit scared coming here with the performance weights in our cars, but I mean, we got everything together.
The dominance has a name. Jamie Green. The Brit was overwhelming at Lausitz. Not even his fellow Audi drivers could stop him. Victory in race 1. Victory in race 2. Thus, the 33-year-old becomes the first double winner in the DTM since Uwe Olsen in 2002. But what is the opposition doing?
Stop.
Maxime Martin is the best placed BMW driver, but he doesn't get any further up than 7th and 8th place. In the overall standings, the Belgian is already 59 points down on leader Jamie Green. Mercedes-Benz will not be using the race in the lower Lausitz as a reference either. Its current spearhead, Pascal Wehrlein, currently is well down on points in 4th place.
Hello, here we are in the pouring rain, and I'm here with the pole setter, with Christian Vitores. Now, it is perfect for you in regards to the fact that you aced the qualifying and you're starting a pole position. But however, now looking at the rain, what do you think about that? Is that good for you, or who knows?
Well, we find out soon. It obviously makes it more difficult. I would definitely prefer an easy dry race now, where we're starting from. But obviously we can't choose. It's wet now, makes it more difficult, more challenging. But first of all, we need to have a look how we get off the grid. Hopefully I get a good start, and then we see where we are.
But I mean, it's also good to know that the first 2 race weekends didn't go that well for Mercedes-Benz. Now it's looking good, maybe even the rebirth of Mercedes-Benz?
I hope so. I mean, Norisring was one of the best tracks we ever had from Mercedes. We had the best placed Mercedes, I think, for 13 years here. So it looks promising. Let's try to keep the history up.
All right, we'll have a fantastic race. Thank you very much, Christian Vitores. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. And the rain just started hooning down around about 2 minutes ago. There we can see Bruno Spengler, and a very, very wet grid girl looks at the BMW bank car there. Alongside me is Chris Hartley, and to be fair, we thought the rain was done for today, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Norisring. Yeah, we had rain first thing this morning. The second free practice session was very wet indeed for DTM. And then it started wet with a drying track for the 20-minute qualifying session. With about 7 minutes to go, Dave, the dry line was increased and everybody came into the pits for slicks. And we had a fascinating, intense 5-minute shootout for pole position, which changed several times a lap. And in the end, it was Christian Vitores, who was the last driver to cross the line, who snuck pole position. position.
Yes, he did it absolutely perfectly. The strategy worked dead right for him. He was the last car out on track that could set a lap, and he made sure that that was the lap that was going to be the best one, and he did put it on pole position. As we can see now, here comes the grid in full. Christian Vittoris and Gary Paffett. It's a Mercedes lockout on row 1.
Yeah, first time Audi haven't had pole this season, but Jamie Green, the championship leader, is third on the grid. Paul di Resta, fourth on the grid.
As we move to the next row, we see Pascal Wehrlein and Augusto Farfus is the best BMW to show in P6.
Looking at row 4, we've got Robert Wickens, who was on pole here last year, and local hero Marco Vittman.
Then we see the Spaniard Miguel Molina, and Martin Tomczyk in car 77 puts it P10.
On the next row of the grid, Daniel Hungadea and Lucas Auer, the newcomer to DTM with his best qualifying yet.
Bruno Spengler, the car we saw just a moment ago with Maxime Martin, means 2 BMWs P13 and 14.
Disappointment for Timo Glock, 15th, and third in the championship, Adam Motara. He's only 16th on the grid.
Work to do for Tom Blomqvist and Antonio Felix da Costa from P17 and 18.
And then towards the back quarter of the grid, we got Nico Muller, who grazed the wall in qualifying, and Max Gutz.
And then we see Matthias Ekstrom, a lowly P21, and Mike Rockenfeller will go from P22.
And the final row of the grid, Dave, Adrian Tombe and Timo Scheider.
And now Verena Wright is with Uli Fritz.
I certainly am, and it's looking good for Mercedes-Benz. Double pole, all in all, in the top 5 we've got for Mercedes-Benz. However, now the weather conditions are changing a lot. I don't know what your latest update is about the weather. I just heard that apparently the rain is supposed to pass by, so obviously now it's a question about the tires. So what are you aiming for?
Yeah, exactly. I think we have to wait for a few more minutes until we see how the track develops, if it stays wet or if it dries down. Actually, it is, yeah, the forecast is it will not rain anymore, but yeah, it's just we are not in the center of the weather, so yeah, it will be hard to decide.
Do you have a good strategy for the top 4 cars?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the qualifying, we had this afternoon, which was really good for us. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to gamble on tires and wet and dry conditions. So, yeah, we will see.
All right, but all in all, it seems like you guys are pretty nervous at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's always the thing, if you're right at the front of the grid, you rather don't gamble, and if you're in the back of the grid, you rather gamble. So, yeah, it's always the usual game in the end.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. It's the worst nightmare as a team boss and as a driver as well, knowing which way to go in terms of, I mean, it stopped raining now. Kind of Murphy's Law, isn't it, Chris? As we look at Marco Vittman, of course, the champion. And there we see his car. He is going from P8 on the grid. Marco Vittman, probably further back down the order than he would like to be. So Uli Fritz saying there, they're just going to see what the track conditions going to be like, how it's going to develop. My guess is they're going to send them away, aren't they? And we have seen from qualifying this morning how very, very quickly a dry line comes to the track.
That's right. It's tricky in these conditions because there's not really any surface water, so the wet tyres won't work at their optimum. It's just greasy, it's a bit damp. If somebody runs wide, they drag the rubber back onto the track, and sometimes it can be trickier than when it is properly wet and the tyres are working at their premium, so it's going to be difficult. A good point that was made there, though, was if you're at the back of the grid, what have you got to lose?
Yes, gamble time, isn't it? Augusto Farfus then in the livery for 2015. And of course, the permanent numbers that the DTM drivers run now, and Augusto Farfus goes with number 18. That stays with him. And you can see there his focus. As we look at Pascal Wehrlein, the Guix liveried Mercedes. Pascal Wehrlein will be going from P5. Good opportunity for Pascal Wehrlein. Methinks good opportunity for Mercedes all round. Their qualifying's absolutely excellent stuff. And there, yet another one of them, Paul di Resta. So Paul di Resta then going from P4 on the grid. It's a fantastic heli shot of Norisring. There is the grid for you. Vittoris, Paffett, Green, di Resta, Wehrlein, Farfus, Wickens, Vittman, Molina, Tomczyk, Hungadea, and Lucas Auer, the first 12 places. as we look back down at this phenomenal circuit. It is effectively the DTM's Monaco, Chris Hartley.
Yeah, wonderful setting in the southern German city of Nuremberg. 24 cars on the grid, 8 for each of the 3 premium brands from Germany, Mercedes, BMW and Audi. 47 thousandths covered the top 3, 9 tenths of a second covered the top 24. We've become accustomed to that, and the sun has just come back out, Dave.
It's glorious now. From P3 on the grid, Jamie Green then, who is having a fantastic season thus far. In conversation with Verena, he was saying then that, you know, hoping for a podium. Of course, they are carrying maximum weight. Whilst we were talking about rubber as we look at Gary Paffett there, we should just mention that in conversation with the Hankook boss yesterday, we were discussing about this weight variation there's been within the tyres. And an absolutely new batch of tyres here for DTM with a much narrower weight variation. Jens Marquardt, though, boss of BMW, is with Verena now.
Jens Marquardt is here with me, and just a second ago we were standing here in sunshine. Certainly crazy weather conditions here at the Norisring. Now, best BMWs are in P6 and P8. I'm sure you're still not up there where you want to be in the front. However, are you kind of hoping for rain to mix it all up?
Well, I think we've had rain already, so now it's already mixed conditions, and you can see some guys on wet tires, some on dry. It's going to be quite a crazy first lap, I think, and especially first corner. So, yeah, I think there's already a lot in the mix.
So now in regards to the tires, we've already heard some of the drivers, you know, the tires are being mixed up. Now, the thing is, what are you planning on a clear strategy in regards to tires, or also are you ready to gamble a little bit?
Well, I mean, you always have to do a little bit of a gamble. At the same time, obviously, now with the conditions that we have to see how it really develops. Now it looks like it's going to be dry. Back there is a bit of a shower maybe coming up again, and those develop quickly, so you have to react, and you have to be prepared for anything.
And I guess it is going to be a very exciting race, though, don't you think?
That's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be really something for the fans.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt, and back to you.
He's chipper, isn't he? Given that we don't know what he's going to do, he's really chipper about it. But there is still a cloud overhead, yet there's glorious sunshine at the moment. And, well, interesting what he was saying, that some have wet weather tyres, some have slicks on already. There's the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Jamie Green in a very commanding position, P1 on 75 points with Matthias Ekstrom. His closest challenger in the points is on 58, but Matthias Ekstrom is a long way down the grid.
He is, yeah. He's 21st on the grid, in fact. So he's one of the drivers that we'll be pleased to see, you know, the spanner in the works, the rain, potentially mixing things up here.
Yes.
You also have to bear in mind that there is no pit stop in this race, no mandatory pit stop. Anyway, Verena has caught up with David Coulthard. Verena.
Yes, I'm here with David. Good to see you again here at the DTM. It's always wonderful to have you here. Now, I'm pretty interested. I mean, you're such a professional. You're so, you know what's happening here. Now, we just got the information that Christian Vittoris, best Mercedes-Benz, is on wets, and for example, Jamie Green is on slicks. Now, what do you think? What is the best strategy?
Well, right now, in this moment, the wet is the tyre because the whole track is completely wet, but it's warm, it's not raining. This is going to change very quickly. So this is about who's going to win the race. So the wet guys have to pull enough of a gap on the slick guys to be able to make their stop. And is there going to be enough laps? At the moment, it doesn't look like there will be.
But you think certainly it's going to be a very exciting race, right?
Yeah, for sure. Really, the start is going to be crazy into turn one.
And I would say let's get out of here because we need to run. So back to you guys. Race is about to start. Thank you, Dave.
Great to see DC here. Of course, former DTM star in his own right. So, interesting. Some on slick, some on wets then. And I think, having watched qualifying, Chris, and talked about qualifying as you and I did, sorry, from that camera angle, I would say wets is not the way to go.
Yeah, unless they know something we don't, then there's another quick shout. It's only got to rain for 2 or 3 minutes, hasn't it?
Yes.
And well, that said, it sort of looks like it's passing, doesn't it? But if you are starting on slicks, you are going to have to be so careful for the first few laps of the race with all of that horsepower, these V8s, 570 brake horsepower. So wet tyres for Christian Vittoris, you got the blue lettering, and for Gary Paffett on the front row of the grid.
I think for Di Resta as well. But I couldn't quite see, if I'm honest with you.
It's white lettering for dries and blue lettering for wets, isn't it?
Jamie Green is going on slicks, or that's the information that Verena had been given. So, well, we will see. Here we go. 2 races in every DTM weekend now. It's fantastic stuff. As Danny Juncadella weaves from side to side, there'll be a little bit of spray sent up from the rear wheels of the cars initially, but certainly when you look now into other parts of the circuit, perhaps it is more damp than I was giving it credit for. And look at the spray coming off the car of Christian Vittoris. So, well, we will see. Jamie Green is going to be the if you like, the tester, isn't he? Okay, so just being told by our director, first 3 are on wet weather tyres. The next 3 on slicks.
Yeah, cat and mouse, isn't it? They are going to have to rely on their senses for this, because they're not going to know until they get to that first corner how much grip will be available to them. They're going to have to be tentative on the brakes. They're going to have to brake early. They're going to have to be tentative getting on the throttle, and they are going to have to turn into the corners early, because on slick tyres, even with a slight bit of surface water, it is going to understeer. And you know what's on the exit to the Grundig hairpin? A concrete wall.
Just to clarify, it's Vittoris, Paffett on wet weather tyres. Green is on slicks. Very unforgiving circuit, as Chris has said. Christian being guided into his box. There we are, live team radio as Christian Vittoris is guided into his grid box. Gary Paffett alongside him. Staggered grid, of course. There's Timo Scheider, who's going to be last onto the grid.
And on slicks.
And on slicks. So, it is going to be fraught the first lap. And into Audi, into BMW, and into Mercedes-Benz as the anxiety and the tension rises. The green flag comes from the marshal at the rear of the pack. Keep an eye on the gantry lights. 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4, 5 when they go out. Let's go racing. DTM here at the Norisring for 2015. And Paffett is going to squeeze out Christian Vittoris. Vittoris wasn't able to get the traction down. Jamie Green is already being mugged, but Vittoris comes back. Gary Paffett, I would think, will come out of this in the lead. Green is all over the place. Look, he's on the slick tyres.
As soon as he turned in, he went straight on, and there's a collision midfield there. We have got a pile-up. There are 2 that have come to grief. There are another 3 or 4 that have got through, but we're delayed with all of that. So Molina, I think, was one of them. And yeah, that's again a mixture of tyres. I think some were okay off the line. Jamie Green actually got off the line well, but when he turned into the corner at the hairpin, nothing happened.
So we have now Christian Vittoris leading Gary Paffett, then it's Robert Wickens. Pascal Wehrlein has gone backwards as well. So they're all tippy-toeing around, aren't they, Chris? Those of them that are on those slick weather tyres. And a safety car has been deployed. So that will bunch everyone back up again, and perhaps there's no surprise. It was always going to be fraught, wasn't it? And there is Jamie Green, who was having to try and steer that car on slick weather tyres, wasn't he? And it was always going to go backwards.
He's done okay. I mean, he's dropped to 11th, but it could have been a lot worse. This safety car is great news for everybody on the slicks, because if they're sat behind the safety car for a few laps, the track dries up a bit, and that's less time for them to have to deal with these slippery conditions. There's a replay of this incident, Dave. It was coming out of the hairpin in the middle of the park, and I think that Auer nerfed Molina on the apex there. They both came to grief, and others got delayed. It looked like there was contact to me. It's the pink Mercedes. Yeah. Tried to scoop, but inside he just clipped the back quarter, didn't he?
And then it was a real concertina effect, wasn't it? And yeah, Muller was into the wall in the similar place he was in qualifying as well, where he had no assist at all. Here's a replay at the start.
So Green actually got off the line quite well.
Yeah, you're right, he did. He did. Blistering start from Mike Rockefeller on wet weather tyres as well.
Pascal Wehrlein made a pretty good start as well, actually. Hooked it up. But then watch the orange car, Jamie Green.
Now this is where he turned in and
nothing happened.
He didn't turn in, did he?
And then I think Nico Muller was innocent and all of that. He got nowhere to go, really, had he?
No, I mean, they're 5 abreast there. Ain't going to work, is it? Now, this is where Vittoris got Paffett back. So, we are under the safety car at the moment.
Scheider and Ekstrom are up to 18th and 19th, so they benefited. They got around that pile-up.
It's coming in this lap. Lights are out. Okay.
Blomqvist is in.
In.
I think he was tangled up in that incident as well, wasn't he? But I guess he's going to change wets to slicks.
So at the moment, the first 6 cars are on wet weather tyres. Safety car peels off, and we will go back to racing again. It's Christian Vittoris that is leading. And Timo Glock is about to be mugged by Mike Rockefeller. Just saw that at the back of the picture as the trio of Mercedes across the timing line. P1, 2 and 3. We go back to racing. We have 36 and a bit minutes left on the clock of this race, punctuated by a safety car right at the very, very start.
Yeah,
again, Jamie Green is going out very wide, isn't he?
Going to lose a place to Mike Rockefeller, who squeezes past. Rocky's up to 12th now. He started 22nd. He's already gained 10 places in the Team Phoenix Audi, the green and yellow 99 machine.
Now, of course, if there's no further rain, and now Rocky is getting past the champion Marco Vittman. Now, Mike Rockefeller is the last one of the drivers that's on wet weather tyres. So what we need to do now is take a look outside, Chris, and the rain has stopped. We have 35.5 minutes left to run if that track dries out. At the moment, the advantage is with wet weather tyre drivers. That could soon change. Maxime Martin really crabbing there in his BMW.
We switched to a standard tyre for everybody this year, but Dave, this is almost like last year's races where you had a race of 2 halves, some on the softer option tyres and those on the standard tyres. And in the first half,
yes,
half the field are going to fly. In the second half, they're really going to struggle, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or have to pit, unless it rains. And it has got a bit darker overhead.
There's no way of knowing, is there? It really is a gamble. So Vittoris is leading from Paffett, Wickens, the rest of Tomczyk. Wehrlein is P7. We can see Wehrlein there. Augusto Farfus, and now here comes Mike Rockefeller. And Rocky really is on a charge because he is a wet shod with those tyres. Vittoris has opened up a bit of a gap to Gary Paffett, and Robert Wickens is right on the tail of Gary Paffett now. Those are the 1, 2, 3. And here comes Mike Rockefeller to make another pass on Augusto Farfus. This, the Norisring circuit. Tight and demanding, that's for sure, but brilliant to watch.
Goes a bit deep into the corner though, does Rocky?
But he's got the traction out. Look, it's like a slingshot for him, isn't it?
It's like he's got another gear. He's got so much more traction and grip. So 99 Mike Rockefeller gains another place. That puts him ahead of Pascal Wehrlein now, and that puts him up to 7th position from nearly the back of the grid. But Wehrlein's another one that's on slick tyres. Molyneux's been in for repairs and goes back out.
That was a drive-through penalty, actually, for jumping the start. So he's served his drive-through penalty, and he's back out on track once again. That's just flicked up on our message screen there. Now, I saw Maxime Martin's car really crabbing, and that's being retired now.
Yeah, the first one to drop out of the race, Maxime Martin, who was BMW's leading light in terms of points coming into this weekend, but down in 8th spot. Except bumpy it is at parts of this circuit, Dave. It's a public road, and there are differences in the surface type as well, where it's been patched up. There's paving there, there's white lines. You know, what's grippy on one part of the course can be pretty treacherous on another part of the course. And earlier on today, when we had a lot of rain at the start of the day,
yes,
half the circuit dried out a lot quicker than the other half.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So Vittoris is leading with a margin of 1.4 seconds over Gary Paffett. There's Mike Rockefeller. Just look how he has left Wehrlein in his wake. So Mike Rockefeller there. We know that he's running those wet weather tyres. And Christian Vittoris gets past the back marking now, Miguel Molina, who, of course, has served that drive-through penalty. So it is Vittoris, Paffett and Wickens all turn in. Molina yields and allows them past, quite rightly too, because he is a back marking car.
So it looks like Pascal Wehrlein is the best of the slick-placed drivers, I think, in 8th position, Farfus 9th, Jamie Green 11th. They're currently lapping 3 to 4 seconds a lap slower than those on wet. I'll have to keep an eye on those times. There'll be a point at which the times become level, I suspect.
So there is Rocky. So Mike Rockenfeller then running in P7. Next in his target sights will be Danny Juncker-Dea, who's away up the road, isn't he? Not even in that shot. And Vittoris, Paffett and Rickens. And Vittoris is doing a great job here in terms of gapping his Mercedes pal Gary Paffett there, who is in P2. And yes, you're right, the bump was really, really noticeable there. Robert Wickens is sticking with Paffett at the moment. See the car slide in a bit. Super control from Gary Paffett, a hugely experienced racer. Best BMW is Tomczyk P5, but this is the best car out there. It's P1, Christian Vittoris. There you can see Tomczyk, and there's Danny Juncker-Dea.
With the exception of Vittoris, who's in the 54s, most of the front-running group are in the low to mid-55s. The guys with slicks on are getting a bit quicker now. They're into the 57s, so that gap, the difference between a wet tyre and a slick, is already coming down.
Maxime Martin is with Verena now.
Yeah, Maxime, we didn't quite see what happened at the moment. I mean, you are best BMW so far in this season. However, why did the race end for you so soon? What happened?
Yeah, we decided to start on slicks, with some other drivers, and I had a little contact with Eduardo Mortara, but side by side, nothing special. And the rear right wheel broke, so difficult to understand why, because it was really, really light. So,
but do you think your car's going to be ready for tomorrow again?
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Thank you very much, and back to you guys.
Well done, Verena. So an innocuous touch then between the two of them. But these cars, you know, they look great, don't they? But they are very, very sophisticated pieces of engineering, you know. And any little touch, that's been proven. And Maxime Martin is out of this race, sadly, with a broken component on the car. And you're pointing out on screen that a dry line is beginning to develop, are you?
It is, and Robert Wickens is going to the other side of the circuit. So as you looked at it, the right-hand side of the circuit, Robert Wickens was trying to stay on the wet, trying to keep the wet tyres that he has cool. There he is. He's gained ground, certainly on Gary Paffett, but on the other side of the circuit, it's beginning to dry up. So you'll see some different lines now into the corners. Those on slicks sticking with the drying line. Those on wets trying to keep the tyres cool, because without much surface water, these tyres are going to overheat. And Robert Wickens, like a bullet, whistles past Gary Paffett. Good move, that. And the Canadian goes into second place.
Yeah, that was a good move, wasn't it? So, been doing the sums here. 26 seconds, Pascal Wehrlein is back. The wet weather tyres up to 3 seconds a lap quicker at the moment, but you can see them. They're really hunting for the water now, aren't they, to keep those tyres in their operating range.
I think Wehrlein's doing a really good job here on the slick tyres. He's in 8th place. A 20-year-old, he's only had a couple of seasons at DTM. He's the best of the slick shod cars, and he's getting quicker and quicker.
This is 3.2 seconds, 3.2 seconds.
Let's see.
Now, sector 1. You made 3/10 in sector 1 too, Chris.
Now, having been released, the team telling Robert Wickens over the team radios, you saw a replay of the move, that now he's got past Gary Paffett. He's just done the fastest first sector of anybody.
In comes Tom Blomqvist.
It's for the second time, isn't it?
Yes. That's going to be retired. Looks like starting on wet weather tyres was probably the right choice, wasn't it? At the moment, what have we got left? Just under half an hour left to run. There's darkening clouds overhead as well. This man, though, Robert Wickens, is on an absolute charge. Purple first sector. I mean, he is just flying, isn't he?
Yeah, he does go well around this circuit. He went here last year in the HWA Mercedes, and he's got the bit between his teeth. He knows that he's got to try and build an advantage. If that rain doesn't come again, those on slicks, you know, you could see a situation where they're 3-4 seconds a lap quicker, and any advantage you have will quickly come down. So he's on a mission now. He's pulled well clear of the Euronics Mercedes of Gary Paffett. Di Resta is 4th. Tomczyk 2011 champion in 5th place, and Hunkadea is 6th.
So there is our race leader crossing the timing line. There is P2, P3, P4. It's all a Mercedes story, isn't it, until we get to Martin Tomczyk.
And Robert Wickens now the quickest man on the circuit. Pascal Wehrlein is now in the mid-55s. Those in the lead group on wet tyres, most of them are in the low 54s. So whereas it was 3 to 4 seconds a lap at the start of the race,
down, isn't it?
It's 1.5 seconds a lap, something like that, the difference between the quickest on slicks and the quickest on wets. The exception to that is Robert Wickens, who's done a 53.1 as his best lap time.
So Pascal Wehrlein then in the number 94 car. Now what we've got to factor in is if, you know, that margin has, and it's going to decrease, isn't it? Is
okay, Christian, box this lap, box this lap.
Right, that's interesting.
Because, Chris, the gap back is sufficient, isn't it, to enable them to come in, still be ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, who's, you know, the man that's been out on slicks. Okay, here comes Gary Paffett, first of all. Onto those slick tyres. A slick stop from the crew as well. From Art Grand Prix, and out they go. Out goes Gary Paffett.
There's Wehrlein coming through.
Yep.
So he's in front of Paffett. He's going to be pretty close to Vitoris, isn't he? If Vitoris comes in on the next lap, it's going to be very tight.
Pit speed first gear. And square the brake, pit stop now. New set. Keep pushing.
The other thing to bear in mind, Dave, is that Pascal Wehrlein has had a lot of time now getting used to driving on slicks. Yep. Guys like Gary Paffett and Christian Vitoris have got to take a few laps to get used to it.
So in Vitoris and Wickens together then. And again, we need another slick stop from these guys, don't we? There's Christian Vitoris. The team go to work. Robert Wickens also. We put the clock on. 3 seconds dead for Christian Vitoris is out. And Wickens follows him.
Okay, Christian, watch the wet tape. Push now, Pascal is coming, push.
And there is Pascal Wehrlein. He's through. He's effectively going to be the race leader, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Vitoris second, Wickens third. And there you go. Gary Paffett fourth. We've got a race on our hands here, Dave. We've still got 25 minutes just under to go.
Okay, don't forget, you have your new set now. A new set of tyres. 25 minutes to go.
Now, the team radio there is really, really useful because, of course, Christian Vitoris' tyres are much less old than those of Pascal Wehrlein. How much of a difference is that going to make? Because, of course, those slick weather tyres haven't been pushed too hard, have they? Because it's been very cool conditions for them.
I think the point they were making, the team as well, is that they're a brand new set of slicks. They've not even done a few laps, so they're going to be super slippery for the first lap.
Fair point.
Go.
DRS
is enabled.
A lot more freedom on DRS now, isn't there? As Paul DeResta just about rejoins, but he's going to lose a place here. He's going to lose 2, I think.
Oh, Jamie Green is going to try and benefit by taking both and ends up not being able to do so. So side by side then, Bruno Spengler. Oh, a little bit of panel rubbing between the two. Jamie Green wants to buy into this, and he's gone. He's around. Oh,
what a control, though.
That was very, very good control,
Brilliant.
wasn't it?
Jamie Green ran into the back of Paul DeResta here last year on the formation lap.
Box.
Box. He's rubbing on the bodywork, isn't it, the tyre? Or possibly even a complete puncture, the right rear. Yeah, those two came together on the formation lap here last year when they were second and third on the grid. Purely accidental. So Paul DeResta, he's not going to be too impressed about that, I don't think. And of course, a slightest tap on those slicks and you're around, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
oh, that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't.
And it's under investigation, Dave.
I'm probably not surprised by that, if I'm honest. So Danny Juncadella then rejoins behind Martin Tomczyk.
I think it was really good timing by the teams that brought those leading group in on the wet tyres, because with the exception of Pascal Wehrlein, who's got in the mix, you know, they're ahead of the others that started on slicks, like Farfus is in 6th place, Green is in 8th place, and here's a replay of...
But did they leave it a lap too late?
To be fair to Jamie, I think he tried to get out of that at the last second. It's just hit the tyre in exactly the wrong place, isn't it?
And there, I don't think we're going to be seeing that car back out in this race.
No.
Unfortunately. So there is Vittoris. Look at Pascal Wehrlein. just under 22 minutes left to run in this race. Pascal Wehrlein is leading from Christian Vittoris, Robert Wickens and Gary Paffett. There is Vittoris, there is Wickens. And Augusto Farfus P5. There you can see them as they cross the timing line now. And the gap from Wehrlein to Vittoris, 2.6 seconds. And Vittoris is coming under pressure now from Robert Wickens. This is an inter-Mercedes battle going on here, isn't it? And, well, it's certainly good news for Mercedes-Benz at the moment. Tom Blomqvist is with Verena.
Yeah, Tom, what happened? Was it also turn 1 that knocked you out and that ended the race too soon for you?
Yeah, I got quite a good start, actually. And I was on the very inside of the track going into turn 1. And then I got squeezed quite tightly and I had to go up onto the inner asphalt on the inside of the curb. And unfortunately, some cars in front spun round. So I was stuck completely. I had nowhere to go. Cars on the outside, and I got sandwiched. So it punctured my tyre. Heavily damaged the front of the car, so it was very difficult out there. So it was I'm quite disappointed. So we need to try and sort things out and sort it out for tomorrow.
Well, best of luck for tomorrow then, Tom. Thank you so much, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Well done for getting hold of Tom Blomqvist. Now, Robert Wickens has just gone past Christian Vittoris, and look at the difference in pace between the two of them.
He's flying, isn't he? And here he's on board with Christian, the view of what happened, and just better traction, better drive out of the corner from Robert Wickens. Took the wider line, and that gave him the pull out of the corner. Vittoris was a bit tight into the apex, I think. So good move from Robert Wickens. Up to 2nd place now. Real shame for Tom Blomqvist in his first few races of DTM. Last year's runner-up in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, who also had rotten luck here last year. He was a bit of a target last year in this race. People kept crashing into him, but he's certainly got the speed, and we want to watch for the future. Pascal Wehrlein then leads by 3.7 seconds, Dave, from Robert Wickens. Christian Vittoris, the pole sitter, is 3rd. Gary Paffett still going well in 4th place. Augusto Farfus is 5th. Bruno Spengler 6th.
So Paffett is not going to be presented with too much of a problem in terms of getting past Christian Vittoris, the team radio would suggest.
Your teammate is faster, your teammate is faster.
And just look at how much quicker Robert Wickens is than Christian Vittoris. There's no question about that, is there? And Pascal Wehrlein's lead is coming down as David Coulthard watches on then. This very, very exciting race unfold here at the Norisring. There's our race leader, Pascal Wehrlein. There is P2, Robert Wickens. P3 is Christian Vittoris momentarily, because Gary Paffett is going to come by in the Euronics Mercedes as they run out onto the paved area now. 18.5 minutes of this race left to run, and what good news for Mercedes-Benz as sure enough Gary Paffett goes through on the inside and relegates Christian Vittoris down another place. Going to be much more difficult for Augusto Farfus.
Christian, defend your position now. Defend your position.
Indeed, make that Mercedes as wide as possible now, please.
So Mercedes have been on the podium this year, but we're now looking potentially at a 1, 2, 3. Wickens has got the gap down a little bit over the last couple of laps, although the last time around Wehrlein was a fraction quicker. So Wehrlein 3.3 seconds clear of Wickens, Paffett third, and having been released, clearly was being held up, wasn't he? Because he's just on the fastest first sector of anybody, Gary Paffett. There he is.
So Wehrlein, Wickens, Paffett, Vittoris, Farfus, then it's Spengler and Green. No further action in the incident between Jamie Green and Paul de Resta. And then Tomczyk P8. Then it's Vittman is P9, having got past Junkadea, who is P10.
Gary Paffett is the quickest man out there at the moment, so a 50.4. He's 6/10 quicker than the two Mercedes ahead of him. And already, look, Dave, through the Scholler S's, he's within a couple of lengths of Robert Wickens.
You're right. Game on, isn't it? So Paffett at the moment, P3, but Robert is going to have his wits about him. There is Bruno Spengler. Best shown from Bruno for a little while as well in the BMW Bank all-black car, who we're on board with now. And you can see just how unforgiving this Norisring circuit is with regards to those walls either side. No runoff except at either end of the circuit here. There's Robert Wickens. Gary Paffett right with him all the way. And, well, Paffett's going to go through on the inside, nor is he. They very nearly touch. I'm not sure there wasn't a slight touch between the two of them there. That's how close it is. Paffett is undeniably the quickest one, isn't he?
He's bags quicker, absolutely bags quicker. And if he can dispatch with Wickens quickly, he's still got lots of time, 16 minutes, to close the 3-second gap to Pascal Wehrlein. Pascal is not really getting any quicker. He stayed on a bit of a, bit of a lip here in terms of his pace. It's been consistent, but he could be caught here, that's for sure. Right to the edge of the circuit, brushing the wall. Let's have a look. I think you're probably right. There was a... Well, if there wasn't a touch, it was very close to it, wasn't it? Good driving from both there. Gave each other just enough room. Robert Wickens has responded a little bit, I'd say, hasn't he?
Okay, yes. I was going to say Gary was lining up again, but he wasn't actually. So there's Robert Wickens, there's Gary Paffett. Vittoris is acting as a good wingman for them, isn't he? Because he down there in P4 has two BMWs and an Audi behind him, and if he can hold them at bay and let the Mercedes drivers make haste their escape for the final 15 minutes of this race, what a result it's going to be for Mercedes-Benz. There is Jamie Green then, who is currently running down there P7 with Tomczyk behind.
Down in 15th place, Mike Rockenfeller has just set the fastest first sector of the race. Now he's gone on to the slick tyres. He was a bit of a star on the wets earlier on.
Yeah.
And he's just gone more or less half a second quicker than anybody in the first sector alone. Yeah, a 19.0.
That's an incredible margin in one sector, isn't it?
So let's see what Rocky can do. Get himself up into the top 10 maybe in the points. Green and Tomczyk. Tomczyk, one of 8 former or current champions of DTM that we have still in the series. Now it's Jamie Greenstern to set the fastest first sector time of anybody. Again, he's a few tenths quicker than those around him. Taking Tomczyk with him as well, isn't he?
Yes. So this track for some cars is really coming good now, isn't it?
A 49.9, fastest lap of the race for Wickens, but then further back, Martin Tomczyk gets the new fastest lap of the race, and then Daniel Hunkadea in 10th place goes a little bit quicker, 49.866.
It's like qualifying all over again in terms of the fastest laps changing now. So there is Paffett then continuing to pursue Robert Wickens. Jamie Green's Audi there, the all-orange Audi running in P7. There's Vittoris, and Farfus is not able to make anything of Vittoris at the moment, is he? It's a margin of 1.6 seconds between the two of them. So Vittoris holding the ship very, very steady. Timo Glock and Matthias Ekstrom here. Bits of aero kit coming off. One of those carbon fiber shards into your tyre is going to do for you in the race, that's for sure. So Wehrlein has a 2.4 margin over Robert Wickens. So seemingly those that left it to the very last minute to go in and change, it seems to be those tyres that are working the best of all at the moment. It's a brilliant camera shot, isn't it, where you see those cars just storm past that concrete wall. Gary Paffett is now just beginning with renewed vigour to hound Robert Wickens.
They're both catching the leader, Dave.
Yes.
By 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap. And there's a bunch of traffic coming up as well for them. So Wickens, fastest first sector of anybody. There's a replay of a Bruno Spengler move down the inside of Augusto Farfus. Farfus out wide, hung out to dry, loses another place to Jamie Green, who sneaks through. So the championship leader, Jamie Green, he might not be on course for his 4th win of the season. Be happy with the podium he said at the start of the race.
Yes.
And he's in the top 6. He's not far away.
Right. Here comes our race leader then, who crosses the timing line now, and the margin is down to 1.7, Chris. So Wickens, Paffett are catching him. No question.
Yeah, of course, he's got much older slick tyres, hasn't he? And they wouldn't have taken as much of a pounding when it was wet. But nonetheless, his tyres have done more work than those chasing him down. Pascal looking for his 2nd career DTM win. He won at the Lausitz-Ring last year.
And that win he took at the Lausitz-Ring rather overshadowed by virtue of the fact that that man, Marco Vittman, that was on shot there, took the championship at that round. Yeah. So Pascal Wehrlein's due some podium time, really, isn't he?
He's going to have to really dig in for 10 minutes or so, though, isn't he, to keep this lot behind him. Wickens, Paffett. Vittman has kind of picked his pace up as well now. He's just as quick as Wickens and Paffett.
What we must also bear in mind, of course, is that those cars that are behind Pascal Wehrlein have got DRS.
Yes.
Pascal Wehrlein does not have DRS, so that's another advantage they have. Not only younger slick tyres, the gap down to 1.2 now. On board with Jamie Green, then right behind Bruno Spengler. Very nearly into the final 10 minutes of this race. And Spengler knows his rearview mirror is full of that all-orange Audi of Jamie Green, championship leader. So there's Wehrlein then, and Robert Wickens and Gary Paffett. Every single turn of this circuit are getting closer and closer, and Christian Vittoris also the same. As they cross the timing line now, it was 1.2. It's another 4 tenths out of Wehrlein's lead. So it's down to just 8 tenths between Wehrlein and Wickens. Wehrlein is going to end up losing this lead, isn't he? Without question.
Which means that Wickens, now he's within a second, and it's only at the start of the lap that it matters. Within a second of the leader, he can use his DRS up to 3 times a lap, reducing the angle of the rear wing, giving him more straight line speed. So Pascal Wehrlein is going to struggle. The only thing is, there's really one place you can use DRS here, effectively. That's on the start-finish line. Not too many other places around the lap where you can really get the benefit from it. It's going to be a 4-way battle for the lead of the race. And if these 4 hold each other up, you never know, with Spengler and Green on a good pace, they might catch up as well. It's a bit of a... Yeah, there's a bit of a gap though, isn't there? Maybe not.
Was that or a rain shower, Chris?
Don't say that.
So Wehrlein then is going to have to yield, isn't he? Because Robert Wickens, Gary Paffett and Christian Vittoris are all quicker. Pascal, to be fair, has done a fantastic job, hasn't he? When you consider that he started the race. Like it?
Yeah, really, really good drive. It would have been so easy to throw it off into the barriers, wouldn't it, on slicks at the start. They did very well. Jamie Green also kept his cool, didn't panic. And there are the top 4. Vittoris is really coming back into this, you know. I wouldn't rule him out entirely yet.
No, I agree.
The back of this quartet.
So great heli shot then of the Mercedes-Benz battle that is going out on track right now in the final 8 minutes of this race. Pascal Wehrlein being reeled in by Robert Wickens. Oh, and there's a little bit of a lock-up from Pascal Wehrlein there as Wickens gets ever closer.
He's fighting him off, though, and he knows that that's where he's got to defend. He's got to brake late there into that first corner. That's the best chance for the others to get past him. And you can defend around here, even if you're not quite as quick as those behind.
Yes. Here comes that lock up then.
Oof. That's as close as you want to get, Dave.
Yes. Bye-bye, mirror.
That's Edo Mortara. He's had a difficult race, hasn't he? Back in 11th place. Bearing in mind, he's had a couple of seconds, a 4th and a 5th. Mortara, this is a long way short of what he's been achieving so far this season.
Well, for all virtually welded together here. But even though it's seesawing between 3/10 and 5/10 at the moment, Pascal Wehrlein is doing a good job in defence, isn't he?
Very good. Yeah, hasn't put a wheel wrong. He hasn't really left the door open yet, has he? Sun shining down now. There's Spengler, who's doing his best to bridge the gap.
Yes.
Those four hold each other up, and he was quite a few tenths quicker last time around. He's got a bit of breathing space over 53, Jamie Green. 77, Martin Tomczyk has been shadowing Jamie Green for lap after lap now. He can't get past. Coming onto the start straight at the end of the lap, Gary Paffett seems to struggle. He's a long way back going onto that start straight, isn't he? He outbrakes him, he catches up, but he's not as close as he needs to be going into the first hairpin.
That car doesn't seem to have quite the same performance as some of the others there. So there is Wehrlein then. They're all now beginning to run onto the paved area. And use that because there's a bit of a camber advantage there as well, isn't there? Through the hairpin. Absolutely nothing between them. The margin at 5/10 last time around. Checked as they cross the timing line now. Stays at 5/10. So Wehrlein, credit to him, is doing a great job out there, isn't he?
Super impressed.
Slick tyres, which are vastly more used than those of Robert Wickens, Gary Paffett behind.
I think the longer this goes on, the better prepared he is to defend. He knows what's coming. The others are going to run out of ideas, I think.
Well, of course, the other thing is, what we should bear in mind is the top four, all Mercedes drivers.
Yeah.
You know, we're not privy to some of the discussions, are we?
No, no. They'd bit your hand off at the start of the race if you'd have said a Mercedes 1, 2, 3, 4, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
After their torrid season last year with 1 or 2 high spots. But I said they've had some podiums. Gary Paffett's had a podium, but he's had 3 dreadful results apart from that. Pascal Wehrlein's been pretty, consistent. Had 1 podium, but it's all been about Audi, hasn't it? It's particularly last time out at the Lausitz Ring.
Yes. Another great shot then of these 4 cars here at the Norisring. It's Pascal Wehrlein, Robert Wickens, Gary Paffett and Christian Vittoris, the top 4. And then it's Bruno Spengler. It's the best of the BMWs, who's P5, but he's some 4 seconds off of Christian Vittoris. And that's going to be a big ask in the 4 minutes that remain in this race.
The positive news, though, for BMW is that at the moment, and for the last few laps, Bruno Spengler has been the quickest guy out there. A couple of tenths quicker than that lead group.
4 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go. 6 laps.
So Pascal being advised then. 4 laps to go. 4 minutes to go, 6 laps. And so we've been watching here, and Martin Tomczyk and Jamie Green getting together there, and that's Tomczyk gone through.
Yeah. He's been glued to his gearbox for about 10 laps, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
5 laps.
If you're in charge of Mercedes, you'd be a bit worried about these 4 taking each other out now, wouldn't you?
See, just watchful eyes are keeping an eye here, and DRS is not being used. So I think that Mercedes are saying, look, we've got, the top 4 cars.
Yeah.
Let's not ruin it. Let's just bang what we've got. So there, Wehrlein, Wickens, Paffett. Eyes on stalks on these screens at the moment, trying to see a DRS deployed, and I haven't seen one yet across these the 3 cars that follow Pascal Wehrlein that effectively could use it.
Absolutely. No, I think you're right, and I think it's sensible. And it's going to be a huge points haul, isn't it?
Oh, massive. Absolutely massive.
And they're not just thinking about Drivers' Championship, they're thinking about the Manufacturers' Championship as well, of course. And they've got enough of a gap over Bruno Spengler. It's coming down. It's come from 5 seconds to 3.5. But
yes.
He's not going to have time to catch them.
No, we're under 2 minutes left to run, aren't we? And through the Scholler S's they come then. Off onto the paved area. Really noticeable in wet weather conditions. You keep well off that because that's ultra slippery in comparison to the tarmac. But now, of course, the entire track is dry. You can use every inch, available inch of the circuit, and they're doing so. David Coulthard is all smiles in the Mercedes garage there.
Look at Bruno Spengler getting closer and closer in the background.
Is.
It's half a second quicker in the first sector alone than those ahead of him. It's going to be antagonisingly close. It feels like it's going to get there, and just as he gets there, the flag's going to come out. Having done all this work, though, you fancy if he gets one chance, he might just have a go for it. Oh.
That's Matthias Ekstrom.
Yeah, straight on. Down in 17th place at the moment. Was 16th, but Timo Schade got past him. So next time round, Dave, they're going to be starting the final lap of the race, aren't they?
Well, Bruno Spengler, you're right, has really, really pulled it in, hasn't he? So, for the final time of asking in this race, Wehrlein goes round that turn. Just have a feeling that Jamie Green's going to have a go on Tomczyk as well during this last lap also.
He thought about it, didn't he?
Yeah. On board with Jamie Green now. The Audi driver as Martin Tomczyk ahead of him. But here, the 1, 2, 3, 4. With effectively one turn to do for Pascal Wehrlein. It's been an impressive drive from him as he... Now this is the last lap. Just looking at the clock, we have time for one more.
Closer than ever. How far Spengler back? 2.9 seconds on the lead. 1.4 seconds back on fourth. No, even he can't do that. Still, if it's dry tomorrow, BMW and Bruno Spengler would be pretty chipper about the performance of their car.
So we thought that would be the last lap, but the time allowed means we can get one more lap in. So Pascal got to do it for another circuit, but he's done it faultlessly so far, hasn't he? And this time around, he will see within sight the checkered flag as Pascal Wehrlein wins from Robert Wickens, Gary Paffett, Christian Vittoris, Bruno Spengler, Martin Tomczyk, Jamie Green. Well, in the event, Chris, there is proof that the gamble they took with Pascal Wehrlein was the right one. Now, I'm not saying...
Still alive?
Gobsmacked.
No, I'm not saying that if it was anything other than a Mercedes that would have been behind him, it would have been quite as easy.
Mm.
Thank you very much, the whole team.
Fake car.
Tough race. Winning and losing together, that's it. Enjoy, Liv. Get me a pickup, please.
Yeah, just reminding Pascal to run offline and pick up a bit of weight on the car by picking up the shards of rubber onto his tyres. Winner for the second time in his DTM career then. After the win at Norisring toward the end of last season, Pascal Wehrlein wins here at the Norisring, and he drove very well indeed. His second DTM victory in only his second season and he won that day really in the first half of the race when it was damp stroke wet, and he controlled the car beautifully on slick tyres.
Uli Fritz will be a delighted man then, and he's with Verena now.
Oh, he certainly is very delighted, that I can see. Congratulations, a fantastic race here. I mean, the top 4 Mercedes-Benz have got a double victory. Couldn't be happier, could you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all we could expect from this race, the Saturday race. So it's absolutely great. I mean, all the guys did a great and fantastic job. Of course, with Pascal, it was kind of a gambling in the beginning with starting on slick tires, but this went quite well. And yeah, we're more than happy.
Absolutely, and I guess it couldn't continue like this tomorrow in the race, right?
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow is a new day, that's for sure, and you always have to keep up the challenge, that's for sure. But yeah, we will push hard for that, and yeah, we'll see.
All right, well, best of luck for tomorrow. Congratulations for today, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena, with Ulrich Fritz, then the head of Mercedes-Benz DTM, as Pascal Wehrlein then, who has been congratulated already by Robert Wickens, and Gary Paffett won't be far behind in offering his as well. And wow. Is that Tomczyk being... No, Bruno Spengler being very happy with his car as well. And Bruno Spengler was reeling them in, wasn't he?
Yeah, really, really quick for the last sort of 13, 14 minutes of the race. Bearing in mind they've won all 4 races so far this season. The best Audi was Jamie Green 7th. Augusto Farfus in 8th place. But this wasn't a typical race. It's not a typical circuit. And it wasn't typical weather conditions. So I don't think we can read too much into the varying performances of the manufacturers just yet. Well, he looks pretty relaxed, doesn't he? Pascal Wehrlein, you think he'd be cock-a-hoop?
He's a very chilled character, though, isn't he? I've had lots of chats with Pascal, and of course he has Formula 1 testing duties as well. So from a career point of view, it's all looking good for Pascal Wehrlein, isn't it? So all 3 of them discussing the merits of that race. And, well, the weather played a part in it, that's for sure, with a heavy shower just before the start of the race. But the result in full for you. Pascal Wehrlein takes the win from Robert Wickens, Gary Paffett and Christian Vittoris. Then we see Bruno Spengler and Martin Tomczyk, 2 BMWs together, before Jamie Green, best Audi, P7. Then it was Farfus and Vittman, 8 and 9. And then P10 and 11, Junkerdea and Mortara. Then it was Glock, Rockenfeller, Auer, Scheider, Ekstrom, Muller, Tombe Molina, and we lost De Resta, Max Goetz, Tom Blomqvist and Maxime Martin. So 4 out of the pack, as the cars are there and the drivers will be making their way up to the podium very soon.
And despite not having his best result of the season, Jamie Green's going to extend his championship advantage, because Matthias Ekstrom 2nd in the points, Edo Mortara 3rd in the points. We're both behind him. Pascal Wehrlein won the race 4th in the points, but overall that's not been a bad day's work for Jamie Green.
No. So Mercedes crew very, very happy indeed. And Mr. Ulrich Fritz also so.
That's one of those races, Dave, where the team really played their part. I mean, they had to use their heads there and concentrate on what was coming with the weather, make the right call at the right time. The pit stops were executed brilliantly, weren't they? I mean, there were several that were 2.7, 2.8 second pit stops.
And some super slow-mos of Pascal Wehrlein celebrating. And here's the championship now. You're absolutely right. Jamie Green on 81 points, Matthias Ekstrom 58, with Eduardo Mortara 58 as well. But Wehrlein now P4 on 57, Wickens 32, and Gary Paffett is P6, and he is with Verena now.
Gary, so are we going to see a smile from your face now, considering that finally Mercedes-Benz is doing really well in the season, and you're happy with the 3rd place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, slightly disappointed. I started on the front row and I was aiming to win the race, but the rain shower before the start really mixed things up, you know. We started on wets. I mean, Pascal started on slicks, and it was a brave decision. You know, he did a great job on the tyres. And then I struggled the first few laps on the wets, and Robert got past me. But then once we were on the slicks, the pace was really strong, and I was really happy. And, you know, we were just not wanting to destroy the cars at the end of the race. I mean, we all thought we could go quicker, but it was a good race. Great to be on the podium, and for Mercedes, it's fantastic. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, just a perfect race. Fantastic.
Well, one question in regards to the strategy. Do you think perhaps you changed tyres 1 lap too late?
No, I changed earlier than everybody else, so we nearly made a position, you know. But it was a close call. I mean, the track was getting drier every lap. But no, I'm happy with the decision. The guys did a great job with the pit stop. ART are a new team, and they haven't done too many pit stops, and there was a lot of pressure on them, and they did a fantastic job. So, yeah, congrats to the whole team, and ART did a great job again.
So now excited about tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. A front row and a podium. More tomorrow, please.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Well, very happy, and rightly so. The winner is Pascal Wehrlein, though, as we see a super slow-mo of him. The winner here at the Norisring. The Guix liveried Mercedes-Benz of Pascal Wehrlein. And there, more of his celebrations. And Gary, the very first to pay testament to him in terms of how well he'd managed the start of that race. Because, Chris, you mentioned it earlier on, you know, he's really having to tiptoe around on slicks when the track was at its wettest.
Yeah, I think it was a really strong performance from him. I didn't see him put a wheel wrong. He was patient. He let the track come to him. And then he was able to defend at the end of the race. And Gary, you know, maybe there was a bit more pace in there for a slightly higher finish. But as you said, you know, ART Grand Prix for Vasseurs team, they are, you know, experts in single-seater racing, especially in Formula 3, but they're new to DTM this season, and they turned him around in the pits really well, didn't they?
Yeah. Yes, of course, they've, they have Gary Paffett, stalwart, experienced DTM driver, and then Lucas Auer, new to the DTM as well. And they're heading out onto the podium now. The 1, 2, 3, Wehrlein, Wickens, and Paffett. And Gary Paffett has said more of the same tomorrow. I'd be very happy with that. And Pascal there, a smile on the top step of the podium, which is great to see. And Gary Paffett and Robert Wickens happy too. Here's the national anthem for Pascal Wehrlein. Hankook caps go back on, and the celebrations continue. His Royal Highness Prince Leopold of Bavaria, former DTM driver himself, of course. What a trophy that is for Pascal Wehrlein. He'd be pleased with that one, Chris.
Yeah, delighted. Well deserved, thoroughly deserved. That was an excellent drive. Wolfgang Winsenmeyer presents the team's trophy. HWA and Mercedes taking Pascal Wehrlein to the winner's spot. Albert von Turn Taxis, who was pretty competitive in the Audi TT Cup race earlier on,
yes,
until he got turned around, presents the second place trophy to Robert Wickens. And Tora Schollemann, TV Start, presents to a very happy Gary Paffett his second third place trophy of the year.
As Gary's saying, forget the photos, come on, let's go on with the celebrating here.
Seeing time's gone by, Gary wouldn't be too happy with the third place, but given that he had a terrible year last year.
Your trophy's around the wrong way. Well done, Robert, thank you. We've got to do it properly, haven't we? Paffett quickest with the bottle, mate.
He's more experienced. Yeah, Pascal can't see a thing now. he's got a day to get rid of that before tomorrow's race. Well, 3/4 of a day. The price of winning, I'm afraid, Pascal. Well, great day that turned out to be for Mercedes, didn't it?
Oh, didn't it just? Didn't it just? Oh, that's a fantastic slow-mo shot, isn't it? He's getting absolutely... Paffett's aim is bang on, isn't it?
Yeah, one-handed. He's done Wehrlein. Now he's going for Wickens.
Oh, great images.
Yeah, Pascal was always competitive in Formula 3 and Formula Masters, but he did a pretty decent job last year in his first season. Lots of other drivers have struggled. And Pascal Wehrlein, our race winner, is with you, Verena.
Yes, he is with me, and he must be absolutely raving. Your second victory in your DTM career. Congratulations, a really, truly fantastic job you did out there.
Thank you. I have to say thanks to the whole team, because they gave me such an amazing car, and also my strategy was really good at the end. Maybe I was struggling a bit with the tires because I started on slicks, so I did the whole race on the same tires. That's why I struggled a bit in the end, but I think we were really comfortable in the front, and it's a great result for the team.
But quite frankly, since you did mention you were struggling with the slicks, how tough was it really to actually stay on track with the slicks?
My race was at the beginning, so there it was really hard to keep the car on track, or between the walls, let's say between the walls, and not to crash. So I had to watch that I'm the best placed car with the slick tires, and then at the end it was really good to be in front after the pit stops, and then it was a really good victory.
Now you can look forward to tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena, very much, and well done, Pascal Wehrlein. And I think his analysis is pretty fair. First on, I wouldn't want to be driving that car, Chris. I mean, it'd be like being on ice, wouldn't it? But he did manage to keep it between the walls very, very competently, and he's gone on to win the race. So well done, Pascal Wehrlein. Right now, Canadian Robert Wickens, equally happy, I'm sure, Verena.
Yes, he's in a very good mood, obviously. Fantastic to see you up here on the podium once again. Now, last year you won here. Today you got second place, but you're happy about that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, when you start 7th in DTM, it's, you always have to take a podium, But I had some good pace at the end, but, you always are conservative with teammates. You don't want to crash with another Mercedes car, and I didn't really see an opening that wouldn't have been risky, so settled down for P2, and yeah, pretty happy.
But speaking of, you settled down to P2, because that was kind of our impression we've got, but because you were close to Pascal, but you just didn't quite attack him there. Did you even use DRS in the end?
No, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Pascal drove a great race. I was quicker than him at the end, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't really see a good opportunity where there wouldn't have been a risky move. You don't know what part of the track's wet, what part of it's dry, and you only know the line that you're driving, so any overtaking is a bit risky. And in the end, yeah, I'll take a P2, and we have to work on the win tomorrow.
All right, so that was very humble of you today, and tomorrow I want to see the victory, okay?
Thank you.
All right then, thank you so much.
Oh, you've challenged him, haven't you? That's it. Anything less than the win tomorrow for Robert Wickens, he's going to have Verena to face, isn't he? Oh, heavens. So there we are. He was saying that there was never really an opportunity where he wouldn't have put himself at risk. And, well, Robert Wickens settles for a P2, and he's very happy with that. So Pascal Wehrlein wins. Robert Wickens P2, Gary Paffett P3. Crowd here have been enjoying some great racing, some very mixed weather conditions, it has to be said, but this Norisring always serves up some fantastic entertainment.
Yeah, and they get a good day out, don't they, on the Saturday as well as the Sunday now with the 2-race format, 2 qualifying sessions as well. So they had what was a really entertaining 20-minute qualifying session earlier on today with the trying track, and then that race, lots of other support races with F3, Audi TC Cup, and the Porsches as well. And we get it all again tomorrow, which is great news. So, it's wide open. It's going to be an 18-round championship as opposed to the 10 rounds that we've been having in recent years, and that can only open up the championship. And it means if you have a bad race or two, it's less punishing than it has been in recent years.
You're right. You can recover, can't you?
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's a very fair point you make. So longer race tomorrow, of course, with mandatory pit stop to come tomorrow as well. So it's altogether a different different spectacle tomorrow, and qualifying has got to be done as well. So we'll see you tomorrow. From Chris Hartley and myself, thank you so much. We'll leave the final words to Verena Wright.
So we certainly saw a shift change here at the Norisring. After the domination of Audi, we now saw clearly here the domination of Mercedes-Benz with 4 Mercedes in the top 4, then followed by 2 BMW, and best Audi is only in P7 with Jamie Green. So we certainly are very, very curious to see what happens here tomorrow at Norisring, because not only the weather here is unpredictable, but obviously everything else too. So see you tomorrow, and here are the highlights of the day.